Today I'm gonna show you how to make a sketch of a person and techniques I use to make it look as realistic as possible. I actually got qualified as an architectural designer in 2019, but I also opened my own NowaArtStudio in 2019, and since then I became a full-time artist, and sketching played a very important part in the development of my skills. And overall, it's a very good skill to have and to practice daily, even if it's like very quick sketches, even if you're on your way to work, to college, to uni, just like sketching very briefly people, objects, architecture, landscapes. It gives you the opportunity to practice, drawing lines, creating shapes, seeing perspective as it is in real life. So let's talk about figure drawing and face sketching. I can really recommend a figure drawing book by Michael Hampton, and as you can see, you'll find a big variety of different sketches, poses, people, body and face expressions in movement, and also continue watching good video tutorials and definitely sketch people from real life. The most important thing is to realize that our face is not a flat pancake, but really has areas that are popping out and going in. And in this three-quarter view, you can see areas in blue that are coming out and the areas that are more in red, like eye sockets or cheekbones, for example. So let's quickly draw a sketch of a person from the side so that we can clearly see in profile the areas that are coming out. When it comes to realistic faces, our noses, whether it's male or female, are usually the biggest. So the profile shape will usually go smaller according to the arrow. Now let's do a little eye detailing so that it's clear that anatomy knowledge is really important in sketching humans. And once you know your anatomy, your perspective and your scale, you can then start adding on your own character and making your sketches more personalized. When it comes to noses, I like to use ovals and round shapes only because our noses are usually composed out of those shapes together. And when it comes to correct shading and creating shadows on our faces, initially you have to create or know the source of light. Just like in this case, the light is coming from the bottom, which means I'm gonna have a shadow on the upper eyelid as well as just above the cheekbone, being a three-dimensional object that comes out. That's pretty much it for now, and I'm gonna drop quickly 3 screenshots of the book just so that you can purchase it and use it because it really helps. So now let's talk about noses and apply our drawing technique into this sketch. I'm gonna start with a little geometrical shape and add some circles and ovals just to create a nice curvature of the nose. Now adding some eye sockets and then withdrawing some closed eyes. And this is our simplified view of a straight face. But obviously we have different types and shapes of noses, so now let's focus on the pointy noses. And this is still in three-quarter view, just as our sketch. So you can obviously see one nostril being very out and the other one barely visible. And we can add a little bit of context. So now let's talk about lips. I like to draw my lips in a method really similar to drawing noses, so basically creating individual circles and ovals in order to create a full lip. And it's the same when it comes to withdrawing shadows on the lip. We create a source of light, and according to that, we can add shadows in the middle and the top part of the lip. And now from the side view so we can see it in more detail. And when it comes to open mouth, so shocked or scared facial impressions, I use the same method of circles and ovals. And just for the context, let's add nose from the bottom view. So now obviously we're sketching in real life with a real pencil and on the real paper, but this little net will help you understand all the scale and proportions of the face. And as you can see, whether it's a three-quarter view, whether it's a front view, a face stays a three-dimensional object that has many areas all the way around. So let's come back to our realistic sketch on paper. In this case, I'm starting with sort of outlining the main shapes. My realistic sketching technique is based mostly on layering shades and sort of bringing lighter and darker colors, and in that way creating three-dimensional areas. Okay, let's talk about three-dimensional areas and shading. I'm gonna look for a reference picture on my friend's channel So maybe let's pick this video in which I customized card holders for the entire Cameron Forex team. So this shot will do, and let's start sketching. So I'm quickly sketching an outline, but also showing volume of the body and choosing light direction for the shading. So we can actually see the direction of the light from the photo itself and the shading that it creates. But what I really want to show is the shading technique, which means overlaying shades and creating darker colors bit by bit. So there you go. Once you learn how to draw properly, you can create illustrations, portraits, anything you want of your friends, family, and even of yourself. So now coming back to our more realistic sketch and literally using the same technique I showed you right now. So I cut the outline of the body and of the head shape approximately for now, just to have an idea of the proportions and of the scale. It's a good practice actually to start sketching very lightly and work a little bit on finding the correct lines for your drawing, and only after you have that, bring out the color or bring out the contrast and sort of darker areas in your sketch or your drawing. But coming back to the sketch, once I drew the approximate outlines of the person that I'm sketching, I'm drawing the net outline of the face. Let's stop here for a minute and talk about face net and head shape. So this time let's go to my other friend's YouTube channel and let's go to CEO Cast. And I'm actually gonna choose this interview with Andrew Tate, only because he's everywhere, all over social media right now. Okay, so let's speed up a little bit because it looks like Mr. Tate is getting wind up a little bit just there. So I'm literally gonna choose this bit and confirm that every face more or less showcases the rule of thirds and showcase the main areas on the face as well as the source of lighting. So it can be useful to look at different photos and see the shading that different lighting sources create, as well as imagine the shape of the face by creating those simplified volumes. And coming back to the sketch, we're gonna use a face net to have a better idea of where I want to position the eyes, nose, and the lips, as well as ears and the hairstyle at the back. And slowly I'm adding some shades and darker colors into the sketch. The best way to draw singular elements on a person's face is to look at it as if it's a geometrical shape, whether it's a nose, lips, eyes. So for example, with nose, right, we have a tip of the nose, we have a long bridge of the nose, we have nostrils. For example, tip of the nose and nostrils in 3D, in perspective, they become those sort of circles or like oval shapes that have a different shading depending on the lighting. So in this instance, sketching eyes, I would start very light and try to create the shape that I can see on my photo. But in the process, I also remember that eye is a three-dimensional shape, so it's sort of like a ball that is coming out of this sort of indent bit in our face, which means there will be a certain shading at the back of our eyes. You know, it's good to remember that we have different folds around our eyes. With age, we have wrinkles, and it's good to capture all that. And those are examples of how you can sketch wrinkles and how to correctly form them on the face. So you can practice that by using different hatches and different thicknesses of the pencil. And let's apply that to our sketch and finalize it. Now that I have this lighter outline, all the elements, face, clothing, I will start layering darker colors to bring out the depth of the drawing and of the certain elements. As you can see, I like to sketch in different directions and sort of layering again the lines. And the easiest way to do it is just to look at the photo and sort of figure out which areas are darker. With the eyes, again, I'm using this sort of layering technique to bring out some areas, and you can see there is a big difference between the eye on the right to the one on the left. Now with eyebrows, what you want to avoid is creating this one big super straight line. Again, it depends on the person's eyebrows, but usually when you have a natural eyebrows, there will be some areas perhaps more outlined that will be lighter, that obviously the density of the hair is smaller, so then it will catch more light. And the last stage of sketching, we'll be taking this sort of softer, hence darker graphite pencil and bringing out the colors, perhaps bolder lines in the sketch to make the sketch more expressive. But obviously that's really a personal choice. Some people prefer to leave the sketch more subtle and sort of more natural. I personally like to have a little bit of that illustration, like a little bit of the abstract feel in the sketch and more contrast, so I usually use some sort of feature darker graphite to bring all that out. And finally, remember, drawing and sketching is supposed to be a pleasure, so don't pressure yourself too much and develop a little bit of patience in order to start sketching anywhere at any time. And remember, it's all about the process. Even Abraham Lincoln didn't become a president from the start. He went bankrupt, lost his first election, had a mental breakdown, lost his family member, another election loss, and another, and finally he became a president. So cheer up and remember to show some love for this video. Finishing with some little details, and voila, the sketch is done.